Hey, my name's Izzy, this is Rolling Virtual Cards, coming at you with another Jurassic Park deck. Just a few more to go here, guys. Ian Malcolm, Chaotician, or Chaotician. It's chaos and mathematician. So Chaotician, right? This is 1 blue, red, for a 2/2 legendary creature, human scientist. Whenever a player draws their second card each turn, that player exiles the top 2 cards of their library. 2. Dose. During each player's turn, that player may cast a spell from among the cards they don't own. Exiled with Ian Malcolm, Chaotician. And mana of any type can be spent to cast it. So the player can cast a spell from among them. So you can only cast 1 per turn. So, how do we play this deck? Simple. Out-resource them based off casting stuff. And who do we have to think for this? The Doctor Who said us who we have to think about this. We'll get to it, but you are going to be friendly to everyone, hugging everyone, and just outpacing them off the cards you cast. Every game is going to be different, and this is chaos. Let's go. Jace Bellerin's here because everyone draws cards. So each player draws their second card each turn. That player exits the top card of their library. So, Jace Bellerin, each player draws a card. That's the first card they drew each turn. You drew your second card, so you're going to exile the top card. But you can make everyone draw a second card on your turn. Boom, everyone exiles, giving you more choice. Teferia Temporal Pilgrim is here because you can activate its loyalty ability, or whenever you draw a card, put a loyalty counter on it. You're drawing a crap ton of cards. It zeroes to draw a card, which will help you trigger your effect to exile the top card of your library. But the other parts, neg 2, you get a spirit token, a 2/2 spirit token with vigilance. Whenever you draw a card, put a 1 counter on it. And the last neg 12 is whenever an opponent chooses a permanent they control and returns to their owner's hand, target opponent chooses a permanent they control and returns to their owner's hand. Then they shuffle each non-land permanent they control into its owner's library. So it's cool. It's mainly here just to draw the card. Going forward, let's change that view for a quick second. I had to save it, my bad. Save. Oh, I didn't clip. There we go. Here we go. Creature-wise. Academy Lore Master. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player may draw an additional card. If they do, spells they cast cost 2 more to cast. So, this is just going to let you trigger, it's draw. People can choose it if they wish. If not, cool. They don't have to. But it is a way to make people get their second draw out. And a lot of people are going to be tripped up to do that. Fairy Mastermind gives you more draw, but also it's 3 and a blue. Each player draws a card. If you have 8 mana open, excuse me, sorry. If you have 8 mana open, Fairy Mastermind's gonna let you make everyone draw 2 on someone's turn. Kami's gonna force everyone to draw an extra card, thus causing the effect to trigger on everyone's turn. Lore Broker allows each player to draw a card and then discard a card, which is gonna trigger the effect. Like you can Jason and Lore Broker. Memory Worm. Here's the first card that allows you to break Paradox. Paradox. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, it deals 2 damage to target player. That player discards a card, then draws a card. Put a 1/1 counter on Memory Worm. Since you're going to be casting your opponent's cards not from their hand, but from exile, you trigger the effect, which can cause them to draw their second card this turn. And you get to put 1/1 counters on it to make it bigger. Ornithopter is here for ramp. Zenith Chronicler. When a player casts their first Multiplicative spell each turn, each other player draws a card. This is going to help so much because you're going to be able to force people to draw cards, and your opponents might be able to force them to draw 2 cards. Burnish Heart is here for Ram. Cosmic Scholar, because you are drawing cards, you're going to get it big, and that's just good. Howling Golem is going to trigger that draw card. Everyone, Jace Archivist is definitely triggering it, and it doesn't have to be done on sorcery, just do it on someone else's turn. Ludwig Necro Alchemist. At the beginning of each player's instep, that player may draw a card if a player other than you lost a life this turn, which is going to cause them to draw a card. Nadar Kraken is going to give you those Tentacles for drawing cards and getting big itself. Zurzoth, the Chaos Rider. When an opponent draws their first card each turn, if it's not their turn, you create a 1/1 red devil creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to the target. One or more devils you control attack one or more players. You and those players each draw a card, then discard a card at random. So, what this allows you to do is basically, if you, Jace is great. I mean, any of these, like, force everyone to draw a card if it's not their turn. So if it's on your turn and you attack and everyone draws, this is going to make you get 3 devils. And the next turn, if you attack each player with a devil, when one or more devils you control attack one or more players, you and those players each draw a card. So as long as you swing all 3 devils at your opponents, each of them are going to draw a card that's going to trigger Zurzoth's effect, give you more devils, and then everyone's going to draw that, which will, if it's the second card they draw each turn, will trigger your commander's effect. Iraxa, Empress of Mars, is another one of those paradoxes. It does have Battle Cry, which is interesting, but whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, create a 2/2 red alien creature token. So again, you're only getting one of those cards a turn, but this is useful because that one card you get, well, you're going to get a 2/2 alien out of it, and you're going to be dealing damage to someone. Jace's Projection, whenever you draw a card, it gets a 1/1 counter, and you can put a lower counter on target Jace Planeswalker. Technically, you have one, but the main thing here is it just gets bigger when you draw cards. Ornery Phage, I don't know. Whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on it. That's the point. Osgood Operation Doubler. Enters the battlefield, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's not legendary. Tap, spend this mana to cast an artifact or activate the ability of an artifact. When you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, investigate. So you're going to use it for the investigators, because you can sack the investigators for 2 using it. But Osgood, so Osgood is just a good draw engine in this deck. Solemn Simulacrum is ramp. Toothy gets bigger from the draw effects. Mizzix Replica Rider. When you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may pay 1 and isn't. If you do, copy that spell and you may choose new targets for the copy. If the copy is a permanent spell, it gains haste and at the beginning of your end, subsacrifice is permanent. So Mizzix just allows you to double up the cards you're casting. Psychosis Crawler. With all the cards you're drawing, kill everyone. The 12th Doctor. The first spell you cast from anywhere other than your hand each turn has Demonstrate, which means when you cast it, you may copy it. If you do, choose opponent copy it too. Permanents become tokens. Whenever you copy a spell, put a 1/1 counter on it. That's perfect. Works with Mizzix too. 12th Doctor is fantastic in this deck. Keeper of Secrets. First strike and haste, and whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Keeper of Secrets deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent, which is great. Your opponent's going to have good spells. You cast the big stuff, start dealing damage. Nelfasheen, or Nelfasheen? Yeah. Nelfasheen. It's a beast demon. Really big. Flying, and whenever you cast a spell from exile, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. If it's a permanent spell, the copy gains haste, and at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice that permanent. Very close to Mizzix, which you don't have to pay for it. Which is why this is 5 and this is 6. 4, 5, 4, 6, so a little bigger and stuff, not a legendary. But it's super interesting because it's just another way to copy stuff, which works with stuff like the 12th Doctor. But doubling up your opponent's spells is great. Niv Mizzet Prune is great. I'm running both Niv Mizzets, because they both like drawing. This is whenever you draw a card, it does 1 damage to any target, and then the spell, whenever player casts an instant source spell, you draw a card. And then Niv Mizzet Firemind, you can tap it to draw a card, and then whenever you draw a card, it does 1 damage to your target. So you're drawing cards with all the hugs, allows you to control the field or kill your opponents. The Locust God is going to give you the 1/1 blue-red insect creature tokens, has a way to draw a card and discard cards. But the main thing here is the blue insects are going to give you protection with flying. Flaming Tyrannosaurus is one of my favorite cards that was released recently. I love it. Such a good card. For 7 mana, it's a 5/5 dinosaur with menace and paradox. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Flaming Tyrannosaurus deals 3 damage to any target. Then, put a 1/1 counter on Flaming Tyrannosaurus. When it dies, it deals equal damage to its power to each opponent. So if someone kills it right away, they're already taking 5 damage each. But if you start casting spells like you are from your opponents, from all the cards available, oh look, it's a 6/6 now. It's a 7/7 now. It's an 8/8. Oh look, if someone kills it, they all die. Sage of the Beyond. This is 7. But when you cast spells you cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 2 less to cast. So this is great in this deck because this is going to allow you to cast your opponent's spells for a lot cheaper. And you can foretell it. So turn 2 you can just exile it face down, and then by turn 5 instead of 7 you can flip it up. Pognify is removal. Rapidization is removal. Vision Schemes. Each player draws 2 cards. This just instantly on anyone's turn makes everyone exile the top card of their library. Words of Wisdom. You draw 2 cards, then each other player draws a card. That at least gets the one trigger off. The first draw off. Soul Ring is ramp. Anvil of Bogarden. Each player skips his or her discard phase. During each player's draw phase, that player draws an additional card and then chooses and discards a card. This forces the exile trigger each turn. For everyone. Ramp. This is easy. You just trigger each player draws X cards. So just pay 4 and everyone draws 2, triggering the effect automatically. No one has maximum size, which people will like. And then if a lot of people have cards in their hand, because with this no maximum hand size, you can make your opponents mill a crap ton of cards, which is very useful. It can actually be a win con drawing your opponents out in this game, in this deck. Howling Mine will double up will force the exile trigger each turn for them. Izzet is ramp. Mindstone is ramp. Each player draws a card. Font of Mythos at the beginning of each player's draw step. That player draws 2 additional cards, triggering the effects. The exile. Gear Orrery can if they have no cards in hand, but mainly it's just more hugs, which is fun for people. Otherworld Atlas is ways to make people draw too many cards, and Teferi's Puzzle Box will auto-trigger it too. Wizard's Class gives you unlimited hand size. You draw 2 cards on the next one, but then the main thing is you do want to get to level 3, because whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control, which is very strong. Improbable Alliance. When you draw a card, or when you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token. Fine. And then you can draw a card and discard it for 6. This is great because it's on anyone's turn, and since you have so many cards to make people draw cards, now when everyone's drawing their second card, not only are you getting good stuff for that while also exiling stuff, you're also getting like fairies here and stuff, which is just useful. Jace's Erasure makes your opponent's mill cards when you draw cards, which is again a definite way to win the game. Ominous Seas, you get a counter on it, a foreshadow counter whenever you draw a card, and then you can remove 8 of them to make it 8/8 Kraken, which is great. Passionate Archaeologist, commander creatures you own have whenever you cast a spell from exile. This creature deals damage equal to the spell's mana value to target opponent, which is just great ways to start dealing damage. Curse of Verbosity, if someone attacks the cursed player, them and you draw a card. The attacking player and you draw a card, which is great because it's going to trigger the exile for your opponents and you. And sometimes you can just put it on yourself to go like, oh, you're going to hit me, but you're going to exile a card. Dictate Crewfish forces the trigger each turn on your opponent's turns. Fevered Vision will trigger it because at the beginning of each player's end step, that player draws a card. And the cool thing is if the player is your opponent and has 4 or more cards in hand, Fever deals 2 damage to him or her, which will happen a lot. Psychic Corrosion, when you draw a card, each opponent puts the top 2 cards of the library, which is great. Sphinx's Tutelage, whenever you draw a card, target opponent puts the top 2 cards of the library in the graveyard. If they are the same color, they repeat. Again, mill is just like whenever you draw a card, target opponent mills 2 cards. And this card, ETBs, you draw and discard. But mill is definitely a way to win in this game because you're forcing everyone to draw. And not only are they drawing and exiling. So they're losing cards left and right out of their hands. Boom, bang, pow. Oh no, they have no more cards. And you've just been grinding away using all these card effects. Arcane Bombardment. When you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, exile an instant sorcery card at random from your graveyard. When you copy each card exiled with it, you may cast any number of copies without paying their mana costs. This is great, because if you look at how many instant sorceries I'm running 4. I think I read this card. Yeah, this is read wrong. I'm going to remove it I'm going to fix this deck in the video. Well of Dreams makes people draw cards. And I have 34 lands. Just 1 second. Okay, there we go. He's going to be killed a lot, probably, to be fair. I'm not running a lot of counters and stuff. Again, my decks are really much more of a place to start. If you go like, if you test the deck out with your friend group and go, oh, Ian's dying too much, tweak it. Add more protection to Ian. There's plenty of ways to protect him in these colors. Run more counter spells. Drop a few extra cards. If you're like, oh, this has too many draw effects. The point of this deck, and the reason I really love it, is because your goal here is trigger his effect. And by doing so, your other part of the deck, even if you're not running Ian, is a hugs deck. But you're going to win because you're going to get more out of the hugs. And you're going to force your opponent to mill out or draw out. So all that's very useful. And I think it's very fun. I think the build in this deck is just immaculately so fun to play. I would build it in a heartbeat. That's about it. Love and peace.